like, how have you learned to manage that time better and make sure that you're putting it into doing more things you want, speaking to people you like what active steps that have you taken personally to make sure that you're a lot more purposeful with your time?
Yeah, that's a question I grappled with for a long, long time. And I do know the answer. And I wish I could sit here and say, I'm good at it. I'm a work in progress at it.
I love that.
Melissa, great to have you back again. This is your turn to put me in the hot seat. You didn't send me the questions in advance, which I'm finding more and more people are doing. They like to see me squirm and have to think. So, but if you've got 2 or 3 questions for me, I'd be delighted to try and answer them.
Yeah, thank you so much for obviously speaking to me. And as I previously said to you, what I really love is talking to someone who's been successful in life and worked with successful people and what successful traits. I wonder how in your day to day, as you've got older, what traits you take with you. Obviously, you've mentioned desire, but what actions do you take to be as successful as you've been?
That's a great question. I'd kind of break it into 2 things. Think one thing that really stimulates me is curiosity. I'm very curious about people, about how people think. I'm very curious about the world, So, I'm curious about things that I don't really know that much about,
Mhm.
but I will still, you know, try and find out more about them. I just this morning watched the video of Elon Musk at the Economic World Forum and him talking about SpaceX and having to solve a problem of making the whole spaceship reusable because they can make part of it reusable, but by the end of this year, they'll hopefully crack it to make the whole spaceship
Yeah.
reusable. And that'll make taking freight into space cheaper than freight on airplanes now across continents.
Crazy.
And I'm like, wow. So what curiosity does, I think, even in my business and in what I do, I've always been curious about, what's the next step for tennis? What's the next step for tennis players? What's the next step for me to, improve things?
Mhm.
And that curiosity, I think, again, always gives you something to go forward on. And also, I've realized over time, you have to maybe sit on things for a while before you get an answer. Some things are easy to answer, but some things are a lot more. And I'm, currently moving to America to live, and we've rented a place there and everything. So we're coming to the last parts of this move. And I don't know exactly how it's going to turn out for me there. I don't have a grand plan. But what I do know is that I have attributes that people will find valuable. And then it's just a case of contacting people, talking to people, and starting to see exactly what direction it's going to go in.
Mhm.
Obviously, I have I have ideas, but I'm not a kind of person that says, okay, I have this unbelievable plan. I'm going to go there and just execute. I do like to adjust as I go along. And because there are things that sometimes you think, oh, I'd really like to do that. But when you actually start doing it, it's not really you. You thought it
Yeah.
would be you, but it's not really you. And I think as I've gotten older, I'm getting better at saying no to things that are not really me. And that again, I think really, really helps you keep motivated because you're not doing lots of stuff that, even if it pays quite well, you just don't enjoy doing. And I think that when you do things that you don't enjoy, that does kill enthusiasm.
100%.
So right now I'm very curious how the next year is going to look because I don't know
Yeah.
exactly. And it's like this podcast. I started it as a discipline. I said, I'm going to release a podcast once a week. And originally it was so that the knowledge that I have, my grandchildren can one day listen to the podcast and say, okay, if I want to know what grandpa or opa, as they call me, thinks about or thought about things, it's there. Whether they
Yeah.
ever do or not, probably won't. But it's there. And so that's how it started. But then after 150 episodes, I started interviewing people. And I thought it's all very well interviewing people, but it'd be quite nice if I find people interesting, they'd probably ask me some interesting questions. So that's how I started with this format
Yeah,
where they get a chance to ask me questions as well.
yeah,
I don't know if I've
100%.
actually answered your question there, but
I mean, it's a tough question to answer, but also with speaking to so many people, then, and obviously, p- you say you did it for knowledge and obviously to build your knowledge that you can then pass down. What is the best piece of advice, or just just the best thing that you've heard on these podcasts, on these conversations that you've had, that's really stuck with you?
I think sometimes people will say something and you know it, but when they say it, it's like, "Oh, yeah, that kind of really narrows it down." Somebody said on a podcast, Chad Dunn actually said, I hate the idea of working hard. I love the idea of working smart.
Yeah, I love that.
And I was like, yeah. I think the other thing, and I can't remember who said this, but said when you're enthusiastic about something, everybody likes to say it's work, but actually, is it work or is it just, you know, being paid to have fun doing what you like doing? And he said, I just try to have fun with what I do, and then it's not a pain in the ass. But one thing I also know is you have to get past the grind because every job has grind in it.
Mhm.
And, this is something that I just developed over time is when you have grind, and I'm still not unbelievable at it, but just get it done.
Yeah,
And it's never as bad as you think it is. The thinking about, oh, this is going to be terrible, going to be terrible, going to be terrible, is far worse than actually just getting down and doing it. Um,
definitely.
and it gets down to simple things, which I actually learned from my wife. Why leave things sitting out? Just put them back where you found them. That extra 10 seconds or 20 seconds saves me hassle. Place still looks fine, so it's, I've gotten a lot better at that. And now sometimes when I put something down, it's like, come on, just go upstairs and put it away. Because I always saw that as big grind. And the more I do that, the more I realize she's right. It's
Mhm.
you can't kind of almost just delaying grind for later. So that I learned from my wife.
Yeah. And finally, I guess what I'd love to ask is obviously you mentioned just before how you're trying to be a lot more purposeful with time and do speak to people you like, do the things that you want to do. What have you like what how have you learned to manage that time better and make sure that you're putting it into doing more things you want, speaking to people you like what active steps that have you taken personally to make sure that you're a lot more purposeful with your time?
Yeah, that's a question I grappled with for a long, long time. And I do know the answer. And I wish I could sit here and say I'm good at it. I'm a work in progress at it.
I love that.
But I realized that I didn't value tasks. I didn't respect tasks. So I would put in my diary, you know, if I had, to meet somebody or do a podcast or, all my appointments in the diary. And then I just have time where I'm going to work at my business. And so you'd have, this to do list or task list or whatever. And it's like, oh, I'll just kind of like tick these things off as I do them. And oh, that's not so important. I'll do it next week. And, this task list grows and grows and grows. And some, you forget about, and then it's, oh shit, got to do it in the last moment. You know, I'll do that next week because only due Friday and it's only Thursday night. You're like, oh my God, I've got to get this done. And it's a bit of a panic. And what I'm trying to do now, and the pain about it is it means a lot more preparation. The reward is you really do become better with your time. Is I'll now put a task in my diary
Mhm.
and assign a time to it and look at it like it's an appointment.
I
So
love that.
now it's like, okay, and what I'm starting to find is I've got to do a presentation for next week, Thursday. So I've got it in the diary for Monday for 2 hours. Now, what I'm finding with certain tasks, I'll have 2 hours, then after 2 hours, I'm like, geez, I'm only halfway through. Something like this takes actually 4 hours. Or
Mhm.
actually, I bang that out in 90 minutes. So next time I have a similar task, I know how much time to set aside for it. And it's all about respecting tasks like their appointments.
I love that.
But of course, you have
I'm gonna
to
steal that.
steal it. I wish I could say to you, it's lovely and easy, but it's actually a pain in the ass. And I need to spend more time preparing my week and putting the actual tasks in there. And I've started to do that with what I call, again, bigger tasks, the ones I respect more. But I do know I need to get to a place where I'm really putting most of my tasks somewhere in the week, or putting them on the back burner and saying, okay, these are there if I have time, but they're not important at all. And I don't
Yeah,
have to worry about them really. They're nice things to do if I have time, and not put those in the diary. But
yeah,
anything that I actually have to get done, even if it's in 3 months' time, you know, put it in the diary, Monday the 23rd of, April. And if I then have to move it because something urgent does come up, I will move the whole task to another day where I have that time and put it in there.
I love that. I think it goes back to again then obviously what we said in our conversation of just having something in front of you, taking it out of your head and then having it in front of you. I love that. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I do that with decisions I have to make, but just doing that with just day to day things that I need to do to make it a lot more clear and concise and better time management is definitely something I'm going to steal. So, like I said, I like to make sure that when I get the chance to speak to successful people, I take something away from that conversation. So it's definitely something I'll be taking.
Well, I just wish I could have learned this, but I probably wasn't ready for it maybe 25 years ago or whatever. I think it depends where you are in your life. But if, and as I said, I'm a work in progress but I do know everything inside me says the better I get at this, the better my time management is definitely going to be. And I think it's going to really improve my life because I won't have any of these. As a responsible person, you do get things done eventually or in time. But the quality of the work will get better because I'm not ever lastminute.com on anything,
Yeah, more
or
intentional
not
with it.
very often. And again, you said it earlier, be much more intentional with your time. But it's the clicking point for me was to suddenly realize that I didn't actually respect tasks. That's why I could just push them aside.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's like, no, I need to respect these tasks and give them the time that they deserve. And so that's my big project for 2026, is to get good at that.
I love that. Yeah, it's like we said, it's having it in front of you makes it so much everything so much clearer. So it's I think that's really the perfect thing. I think that's something everyone could use because there's no better time management than purposeful time management. Being purposeful with your time, making sure you know what you're doing next and you know what you're doing throughout the day. Because if you don't do that, you can pretty much dilly-dally around just doing the tasks that you've got to do at the top of your head, but then neglecting other ones. So yeah, I love that.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the big, jobs I have to tackle is, your task list just gets bigger and bigger because all these kind of unimportant ones just get shelved. But also email, how many emails I've got flagged because it's like nothing urgent that I need to deal with, or it's an opportunity that, I will get around to.
Mhm.
And I'm going to, try to do basically 20 emails a day that are flagged, and actually then put a task, or like bin it completely and say, look, I'm never going to do this, bag it, you know, and slowly get through the 1100 email flag list, which would be a very slow process. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's better doing it than never doing it,
Yeah.
and just pretending that one day you'll get to it. Because unless I do it. So again, a task once a week I'm going to put in is a half an hour just going through my backlog of flagged emails,
Yeah.
and,
I know one.
and do something with it, which
Yeah.
maybe just trash it, but do something with it. Get it away from there. So maybe this time next year we can come on here and I can say, I'm at 0.
Yeah, that's what we're aiming for. I
Brilliant.
love that. Thank you so much for answering those
Yeah,
for me, Dave.
it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for being such a great sport. And you don't have to answer now, but is there somebody that you know that you think I should interview?
Yes, if you've not already spoke, obviously, I've mentioned Alice McCall. I
Yeah.
love Alice McCall. If you've not spoke to him, I'd love to listen to that. If not, my obviously playing tennis, growing up playing tennis, my friend is a professional tennis player, Amelia Rajecki.
Oh, yes.
She went to North Carolina State, NC State. She had a successful career there, and now she's on tour. She's on like a second year proper on the tour after
I
leaving
think she plays
university.
doubles with Freya Christie, does she not?
She plays with Freya sometimes, and then she plays with people she went to NC State with. Yeah, she's doing really well in doubles, and then keeps grinding at singles. I think she's around the 400 mark, and in doubles, I think she's around top 200 mark. So
Yeah,
I think she'll be a great one to speak to, going through the path of American University, and then obviously being on a second proper year on the tour now.
brilliant. Thank you very much. I'll I will do that.
Yeah,
I'll get
I'll
both
give
of
you a
them.
number if you
Yeah.
need it.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I
Great.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Dave.
Well, have a great time on your Disney cruise, and I'll be following you on Instagram, and we'll be putting all the show notes and all your handles there for people to follow you.
Great, amazing. Thank you so much, Dave.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
For watching Locker Room Power with David Sammel. If you enjoyed the episode, hit subscribe and leave a comment on your favorite platform. See you in the next one.